In the deep void beyond the orbit of the last colonized planet, the Galactic Military Academy's latest class faced their ultimate trial. The vast darkness of space engulfed the simulated battlefield, strewn with remnants of artificial asteroids and derelict spaceships, setting a stark stage for the cadets' final test. At the center stood Jaxon Marek, his gaze fixed on the scattered debris field that lay before him. Today, these cadets, the best from 100 worlds, would navigate the complexities of a war zone designed to push them to their limits. Jaxon, a strategist with an unorthodox approach, had quickly made a name for himself amongst his peers. His reputation for turning dire situations to his advantage was well known, and this would be his sternest test yet. "Listen up," Jaxon commanded, his voice cutting through the low buzz of the ship's operating systems. The room fell silent, the cadets' attention snapping to their leader. "Today isn't about brute force, it's about using this." He tapped his temple. "Your mind is your greatest weapon." As the simulation kicked off, a wave of artificial meteors began hurtling towards their simulated command center. Jackson's team maneuvered swiftly, their movements precise, each action echoing his calm yet decisive orders. Unlike traditional simulations filled with predictable enemy tactics, today's exercise featured random, chaotic elements mirroring real interstellar conflicts. Divert power to forward shields, route navigation through the secondary console, and prepare to execute evasive pattern delta, Jaxon instructed, his commands crisp. His team responded in kind, their compliance seamless, a testament to the countless hours of grueling preparation. The artificial intelligence running the simulation upped the ante, launching a series of drones that mimicked enemy fighters. Jaxon watched, his eyes narrowing, analyzing each movement. In a split second, he devised a counter-strategy that utilized the debris field as a makeshift defense. "Recalibrate the sensors to track reflective surfaces and fire up the thrusters on my mark," he ordered, pointing to a trajectory that seemed counterintuitive yet was ingeniously effective. His team trusted his judgment, their actions coordinated under his vigilant oversight. As the simulated battle intensified, Jackson's strategies began to bear fruit. The drones, confused by the reflective debris, malfunctioned, providing them a brief respite. This was their moment. "All right, this is our window. Push through the line and let's show them what we're made of. Follow my lead and keep your eyes on the prize." His figure stood against the backdrop of the sprawling cosmos, a lone commander orchestrating a ballet of warships amid cosmic chaos. Under his guidance, what started as a test of survival transformed into a display of tactical genius, setting the stage for what would be an epic conclusion to their training. As the simulation drew to a close, Jaxon and his team emerged not just unscathed, but triumphant, their spirits high and their bonds strengthened. The real challenge lay ahead, but for now, they had proven themselves capable of turning even the direst circumstances to their advantage. As the holographic scoreboard flickered to life, displaying their victorious results, the cadets assembled in the debriefing room, still buzzing from the adrenaline of their success. Jaxon stood at the forefront, his expression composed yet alert, ready to dissect every decision made during the simulation. "The key to our success today was adaptability," Jaxon began, addressing the room. His voice was firm, his tone serious, yet approachable. "Every one of you showed exceptional ability to react to real-time changes. That's crucial in actual combat scenarios, where the unexpected is the only certainty." Around him, the other cadets nodded, their faces reflecting a mix of fatigue and satisfaction. They were an eclectic crew, each from different sectors of the galaxy, with skills as varied as their backgrounds. Among them was Thane, a quiet navigator with an uncanny ability to find paths through seemingly impassable obstacles. His contributions today had been subtle but pivotal, ensuring their maneuvers were both swift and stealthy. As Jaxon continued his review, he paused to sip water, the coolness soothing his throat. The taste was bland, purely functional, a stark contrast to the rich, aromatic brews of his home world. He scanned the room, catching the eyes of his team members, ensuring each felt recognized. "Let's talk specifics. Thane, your route through the asteroid field. Ingenious. You turned what could have been a trap into our tactical advantage." Thane nodded, a slight smile cracking his usually stoic demeanor. The conversation shifted as Jaxon initiated a playback of the simulation on the main screen. The cadets watched intently as their ships darted between the meteors. The visual was accompanied by the distant echoes of simulated explosions, providing a stark reminder of the dangers they had navigated. "Notice here," Jaxon pointed at a critical turn in their path. "We seized the moment, used the environment not just to survive but to engage on our terms. Every sensory input, from the glare of the explosions to the vibrations through your control sticks, was a piece of data to be used." A younger cadet, Milo, raised his hand, his voice hesitant but clear. "Could we have deployed drones earlier for better recon? Would that change our approach in a real skirmish?" "Excellent question," Jaxon replied, his approval evident. "Early reconnaissance might alter our timing and impact our stealth approach. It's about balancing risk and reward. Next time, let's simulate that scenario, see how it plays out." As the debriefing wound down, Jaxon emphasized the importance of sensory awareness in combat. "Remember, the feel of your ship, the sound of the space around you, even the taste of your fear. Use it. Let it guide you." The cadets left the room energized by the discussion, their minds racing with the possibilities of what they could achieve next. Jaxon lingered, his gaze returning to the replay, analyzing each maneuver. He knew that with each simulation, they were not just learning, they were preparing for the inevitabilities of war. Outside, the stars shone brightly against the void, a silent audience to the relentless preparation happening within the Academy's walls. Each light a distant world, each world a potential battlefield. As Jaxon stared into the cosmos, his resolve hardened. This training would one day save lives, his and those of his crew. Jaxon's boots echoed in the desolate chamber where the artifact was kept. The room, carved out of a solitary asteroid, felt like the belly of an ancient beast, cold and forgotten by time itself. The walls, rough and irregular, glistened with moisture that the life support systems couldn't quite reclaim. Ambassador Threx led him to a pedestal in the center, where the artifact rested under a pale blue light. It was smaller than Jaxon had imagined, no larger than a human heart, but its presence was immense, as if it breathed a life of its own. The surface was obsidian black, etched with symbols that flickered in Jaxon's peripheral vision, elusive like shadows at dusk. "These symbols," Jaxon began, his voice echoing slightly off the stone walls. "You said they resemble ancient human script?" Threx nodded, his gaze fixed on the artifact. "Yes, and that's what unnerves us. This artifact predates any known human technology by millennia." Jaxon reached out, hesitated, then pulled his hand back. The air around the artifact was cooler, charged with a latent energy that prickled the hairs on his arm. He could taste the sharp tang of iron in the air, a lingering scent of cosmic dust that this chamber had gathered over eons. "What have your experts deciphered?" Jaxon asked, his eyes never leaving the enigmatic object. "Very little," Threx admitted. "It's as if the artifact is reluctant to reveal its secrets. All we know is it's a key of sorts, a device meant to unlock something." "Or awaken," Jaxon suggested, a chill threading down his spine. The idea that they stood on the brink of unearthing something monumental was exhilarating, but terrifying too, like standing on the precipice of a black hole, where one step too far could pull you into the unknown. Threx's antennae twitched, a sign of agitation. "Yes, that possibility has been considered. The Council is divided. Some believe it should be studied. Others fear what it might unleash." A soft drip of water from the ceiling splattered on the stone floor, its sound a sharp snap in the otherwise oppressive silence. Jaxon watched the ripples expand and fade, like the far-reaching consequences of their next decisions. "We need to proceed carefully," Jaxon finally said, his resolve hardening. "If this artifact is indeed connected to humanity, then it's not just our past at stake, but potentially our future." Threx's eyes met his, reflecting a galaxy's worth of worry. "Will you take responsibility for it?" Jaxon considered the weight of the request. Taking the artifact could mean stepping into a maelstrom, not just of politics, but of cosmic proportions. Yet the pull of the unknown was too strong, a siren call he couldn't ignore. "I will," he affirmed, his voice a low rumble in the crypt-like chamber. Humanity has always faced the unknown head-on, not out of hubris, but out of necessity. If there are answers, we will find them. If there are threats, we will face them. As they prepared to transfer the artifact to the silent vanguard, Jaxon felt the weight of history pressing down on him, like the deep-sea pressure that could crush or forge, depending on the metal it met. This was no longer just a mission. It was a voyage into the very heart of human legacy. Emerging from the asteroid field, Jaxon and his team approached the derelict station, its skeletal structure casting elongated shadows across their ship's hull. The silence of the void enveloped them, broken only by the soft clicks of switches being adjusted and the distant echoes of commands issued in measured tones. Inside the command center, the air was sharp with the tang of cold metal, the temperature dropping as they moved deeper into uncharted space. Each breath felt like inhaling the void itself, crisp and biting, reminding them of the thin barrier that separated life from the vacuum outside. "Visuals up," Jaxon commanded, his eyes scanning the high-resolution display that brought the ghostly station into closer view. The structure, once a bustling nexus of trade, now floated adrift, an orbiting tombstone marking the passage of a forgotten era. Thane, always vigilant, monitored the environmental readings, noting the subtle shifts in radiation levels that spoke of long-decayed nuclear cores. "Radiation signatures are spiking. This place hasn't been dormant, it's been active, unpredictably so." Milo, the youngest of the crew, piped up from his console, his voice tinged with both excitement and a hint of fear. "Could it be protecting something? An automated defense system, perhaps?" Jaxon considered this, his mind racing through scenarios. "Stay sharp," he advised, his tone a mixture of caution and curiosity. "We're not just extracting data, we might be waking something up." As they docked with the station, the sound of the airlock ceiling echoed like a gavel, marking the transition from the known to the unknown. The smell of decay, a musty, metallic scent, greeted them as they entered. It was the aroma of neglect, permeating the station's corridors like a persistent whisper of its former glory. Their lights pierced the darkness, revealing corridors lined with the debris of a bygone era. Floating papers and personal effects moved in the gentle currents created by their passing, silent testimonials to the lives once lived here. "Here," Jaxon said, pausing by a terminal that flickered sporadically, its screen struggling to illuminate the dense gloom. His fingers danced across the interface, coaxing out secrets long buried in the station's failing memory banks. As data streamed in, the station seemed to react, groaning under the weight of its reawakening. Lights flickered overhead and the walls vibrated faintly, as if the very structure was protesting their intrusion. "We've got what we need," Jaxon announced, but his triumph was cut short by a sudden jolt. The station shuddered violently, throwing them against the walls as alarms blared. Racing back to the ship, they could feel the station's renewed vitality pulsing through its corridors, a beast disturbed from slumber. They boarded just as another tremor rocked the platform, a stark reminder of the precariousness of their situation. As they detached from the station, Jaxon looked back at the now brightly lit corridors visible through the viewport. "We woke it up all right," he mused, a mix of awe and apprehension in his voice. But at what cost? The coldness of space closed back around them as they made their retreat, the station receding into the darkness behind them, its lights a lingering echo of their fleeting invasion. What they had awakened remained a mystery, for now, a riddle echoing in the silent expanse of the void. As they sped away from the reawakening station, the view from the rear viewport showed it shrinking, a distant speck against the expansive tapestry of space. Jaxon watched, his forehead creased with thought. The data they'd extracted was encrypted, layers deep, suggesting whatever they had stirred was far more significant than any standard outpost's operations. In the dim light of the command center, the air vibrated with a soft tension. The team gathered around, watching as Jaxon interfaced with the ship's mainframe, trying to decrypt the pulsing data streams. Each line of code that scrolled across the screen was a piece of a larger, hidden truth waiting to be uncovered. "Anything yet?" Thane asked, his voice quiet in the hushed atmosphere of the room. Jaxon shook his head, his focus unbroken. "It's like nothing I've seen. This isn't military or commercial. It's older, maybe foundational." His fingers paused over the console, a chill running down his spine despite the steady warmth maintained by the ship's life support. Milo leaned closer, his youthful curiosity unmarred by the gravity of their situation. Could it be pre-colonial, like from the first wave of star travelers? "Possibly," Jaxon muttered, the data reflecting in his sharp eyes. "This might be part of the first deep space network, lost to time until now." The silence that followed was palpable, filled only by the distant, irregular pings of the ship's sensors, which now seemed to echo the strange patterns of the data they were analyzing. The taste of stale air mingled with the faint, metallic tang of anxiety on their tongues. Suddenly, the ship lurched, a silent alarm flashing as the navigation panel lit up. An anomaly had appeared directly in their path. A field of debris, not random as one might expect in deep space, but arranged in almost deliberate patterns, forming barriers and mazes. "Manual controls!" Jaxon barked, his calm demeanor giving way to rapid decisiveness. He gripped the navigator's yoke, the cool metal firm under his hands, as he maneuvered the ship with practiced ease. The stars outside danced wildly, streaking across the viewport as they dodged the floating obstacles. "Look at this," Thane pointed out, his finger tracing a visible pattern on the navigation screen. "It's not random. It's almost like a message or a map." As they navigated the cosmic labyrinth, the air was thick with the scent of overheating circuits and tension. Each successful maneuver through the debris felt like passing a test they hadn't studied for, the universe itself challenging their right to uncover its secrets. The ship finally cleared the last of the debris, emerging into a clearing in space, a vast open area where the stars shone unobstructed by the dust of ages. Ahead, an ancient structure floated, its design unlike anything documented in modern cosmic architectures, a relic possibly as old as space travel itself. "This is it," Jaxon said, awe mixed with a hint of fear in his voice. "We're not just looking at a piece of history, we're standing on its doorstep." The team looked out at the structure, its surfaces etched by time and the harsh conditions of space, a silent sentinel guarding the stories of the cosmos. What lay inside could redefine their understanding of humanity's place among the stars. The mystery of the station and the field of debris was just the beginning, and as they prepared to delve deeper, the unknown awaited, vast and immeasurable. Hovering before the ancient structure, Jaxon and his crew prepared to breach the forgotten relic. As they donned their exploration suits, the air inside the ship became charged with the electric anticipation of discovery. The faint hiss of oxygen cycling through their suits mixed with the soft whir of the air recycling units, creating a symphony of survival in the sterile void. "Check your gear," Jaxon commanded, his voice clear through the intercoms in their helmets. Each click and snap of securing locks provided a comforting sound of readiness against the backdrop of an eerie silence that awaited them outside. Thane was the first to step through the airlock, the metallic taste of adrenaline sharp on his tongue as the temperature dropped, sending a shiver down his spine despite the suit's thermal controls. He paused just outside, his boots securing onto the magnetic surface of the ancient station with a soft thud. The exterior of the structure was battered by centuries of meteor strikes and cosmic radiation, its surface a tapestry of scars telling stories of unspoken histories. The cold touch of the metal under their gloves as they traversed the structure was a visceral reminder of the station's age and desolation. "Over here!" Milo's voice crackled over the radio, drawing their attention to a panel half covered in cosmic dust. His fingers traced the outlines of symbols that were neither human nor familiar, illuminated by the stark light of his helmet's lamp. Jaxon joined him, examining the markings. "These could be star maps or language. We need images of all these," he instructed, his tone both awed and methodical. As they documented the strange symbols, a low vibration began to emanate from the station's core, perceptible only through the contact of their suits against the station's hull. It was not sound, but rather a wave of energy pulsing through the metal, resonating with an ancient power dormant till now. "This place is coming alive," Thane noted, his voice tinged with both wonder and caution. "Whatever powered this station is still operational. It could be a gateway to technologies we've never imagined." Jaxon nodded, pondering the implications. Or a Pandora's box of galactic proportions. Their exploration led them deeper into the structure's heart, where they found a chamber with walls lined in crystalline displays, still glowing faintly. The air here was thick with the scent of ionization, a tangy reminder of the station's awakening. "These aren't just displays," Thane murmured, brushing his gloved hand against the smooth surface of a panel. It flickered under his touch, patterns swirling in a dance of light and color. "They're interactive, possibly sentient." Jaxon approached, his reflection ghosting over the illuminated surface. "Let's see if we can communicate," he suggested, pressing his palm fully against the crystal. The chamber responded, a wave of light rippling outward from his touch, patterns rearranging and shapes reforming into something new, perhaps a greeting, perhaps a warning. As they stood surrounded by the light of unknown languages and the soft vibrations of a station speaking after centuries of silence, the crew was struck by the profound isolation and the vibrant connection of this moment, alone in the vastness of space, yet touching a piece of its ancient wisdom. The mystery of the relic deepened, beckoning them further into its secrets, each discovery leading to more questions about the universe and their place within it. As the light patterns stabilized, revealing complex diagrams and celestial alignments, Jaxon and his team realized they were standing in the heart of a navigation chamber, possibly as old as the initial waves of interstellar exploration. The air was thick with a cool draft that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the chamber, carrying a hint of something ancient and metallic, a reminder of the station's age-old dormancy. "Could this be a map of pre-expansion routes?" Thane mused, his voice echoing slightly in the vast chamber. His finger hovered over a sequence of stars displayed on one of the crystal panels, their arrangement unfamiliar to any known databases. Milo, always eager, leaned in closer, his helmet's lamp casting a soft glow on the symbols. "Look at the alignments. They don't match any current astrological configurations. This is a snapshot of the past, a guide to how the stars once stood." Jackson's gaze was fixed on a particularly bright representation of a binary star system. "This could be why the station is here. Maybe it's not just a relic. It could be a beacon." The idea hung in the air, dense like the cold that seeped through their suits. A beacon, not just in space, but across time, connecting them to the cosmos's ancient travelers. As they delved deeper into the analysis, the room subtly vibrated, not with sound, but with the energy of activation, as if their presence had stirred the station from a long slumber. Thane pulled up a portable scanner, its screen flickering as it struggled to interpret the data. "There's an energy signature coming from below. It's not just the station powering up. It feels directed, like it's broadcasting." Milo chimed in, his voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Broadcasting? To whom or what? Might this beacon be signaling?" Jaxon turned, considering their next move. "We need to trace this signal's path. If this station has been active, even sporadically, it could have been communicating, calling out across the void." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden shift in the light patterns. The panels pulsed softly, casting prismatic shadows across their faces. The display changed, coalescing into a more detailed map, one that extended beyond familiar space into the uncharted territories that whispered of ancient secrets and cosmic mysteries. "Let's follow the signal," Jaxon decided, his decision carrying the weight of command, but open to the insights of his team. This map isn't just a relic, it's a path. As they prepared to leave the chamber, the temperature shifted, growing warmer, as if the station itself responded to their intent. The smell of warming circuits and aged metal filled the air, an olfactory testament to the technology reawakening around them. Stepping out into the corridor leading back to their ship, the team felt the station thrum with a life unseen but palpable. The walls seemed to hum with a soft vibration, a whisper of energies long dormant now flowing anew. Jaxon led the way, his steps measured but resolute. Behind him, Thane and Milo followed, each lost in thought but united in purpose. They were no longer just explorers but pioneers on a bridge spanning history and future, walking a path lit by the stars of yesteryear, guided by a beacon that had waited patiently for its secrets to be uncovered. The mystery of their mission deepened with each step, drawing them closer to answers that might link forgotten pasts with unforeseen futures. Tracing the beacon's signal through the labyrinthine corridors of the ancient station, Jaxon and his team ventured deeper into the unexplored sections. The walls, lined with conduits encrusted with stardust, pulsed with a gentle glow, revealing the path forward. The sensation underfoot changed subtly, the usual clink of metal soles on hard surfaces softened by a dusting of cosmic particles, creating a muted, carpet-like effect that added an element of stealth to their movements. The light from their helmets cast long shadows that danced eerily along the corridor walls, as if the ghosts of previous explorers marched alongside them. Each breath they took filled their lungs with cold, recycled air, yet there lingered a faint aroma of ionized particles, hinting at the station's reawakening electrical systems. "Energy levels are increasing as we move," Thane observed, his scanner emitting a low chirp with each step they took. "Whatever this beacon is powering, it's significant." The corridor ended abruptly at a massive door, its surface etched with more of the cryptic symbols they had seen earlier. Unlike the others, these glyphs pulsed with a phosphorescent light indicating an active mechanism. Milo approached, his hand hesitating just above the luminous inscriptions. "It's like it's waiting for something. Us, maybe?" Jaxon nodded, stepping forward to examine the glyphs more closely. "Or it's a warning." His voice held a mixture of reverence and caution. As if responding to his words, the glyphs brightened suddenly, bathing the trio in a stark blue light. Without warning, the door began to retract, grinding as age-old mechanisms were forced into motion, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of ozone, a sharp reminder of the powerful forces at play. The chamber was dominated by a colossal, obelisk-like structure, its surface a mosaic of the same glowing glyphs, which now formed what appeared to be a map of the galaxy, complete with routes that extended into the unexplored blackness of space. "This isn't just a map, it's a guide," Thane whispered, awe coloring his tone. "And these routes might be active wormholes, shortcuts through space-time." Jaxon approached the obelisk, his shadow swallowed by the light of the glyphs. "If we can decipher this, we might unlock pathways to parts of the universe we've only dreamed of." The chamber seemed to resonate with their discovery. A soft vibration felt more through their suits than heard. It was as if the station approved of their progress, or perhaps was encouraged by the potential of its new visitors. "Let's document everything. This could change our course," Jaxon decided, turning to signal Milo, who had started setting up imaging equipment. Their work was meticulous, capturing every detail, every line of the glowing map. As they worked, the sense of being part of something monumental grew, the weight of their discovery pressing upon them with a gravity all its own. As they prepared to return to their ship, the station dimmed momentarily, then surged back to life with renewed vigor. The path they had taken to the chamber now glowed with an inviting warmth, as if encouraging them to delve deeper into the mysteries of the cosmos. "Whatever lies ahead," Jaxon mused as they made their way back, "we're not just explorers anymore. We're the bearers of a new map to the stars, guardians of a legacy that spans the galaxy." The mystery deepened, not just about what they had uncovered, but what lay ahead in their journey across the cosmic sea. As they retraced their steps through the station, the air thrummed with the vibrancy of the awakened technology surrounding them. The walls, previously inert and cold, now shimmered with a subtle iridescence, reflecting the crew's helmet lights with each step. The sensation of being watched, perhaps by the station itself, crept up their spines, leaving a tingling awareness of their every movement. "I've got to admit," Milo confessed, his voice echoing slightly in the narrow corridor, "there's something exhilarating about unlocking a relic like this, like it's sharing its secrets just with us." Thane, who usually kept his thoughts to himself, nodded in agreement. "And each secret seems to lead to a bigger one. We're not just finding pathways. We might be uncovering a new understanding of the universe." Jaxon, leading the group, felt the weight of their discovery. The air was crisp, carrying a new scent, a blend of ancient dust and the electric charge of the station's revived systems, which tingled on their tongues with every breath they took. The sound of their boots against the metallic floor provided a steady rhythm to their progress, a grounding element amid the overwhelming revelations. Suddenly, the corridor widened into a circular chamber, its center dominated by a pedestal that pulsed with a soft blue glow. Atop it sat a spherical device, cradled by a framework of metal arms, spinning slowly as if in perpetual motion. "Is that what I think it is?" Milo approached, curiosity piqued, his reflection distorted in the curved surface of the sphere. "If you're thinking it's a star map projector," Jaxon started, his voice filled with a mix of awe and caution, "then yes, it might very well be." Activating the device without touching it, Jaxon nodded towards Thane, who adjusted his scanner to interpret the data stream emitting from the sphere. The room filled with a holographic display of the galaxy, dynamic lines and dots illustrating routes that extended beyond the Milky Way into realms documented only in theory. "The old legends," Thane murmured, his eyes wide as he traced one of the routes with his finger. "They spoke of gateways between the galaxies, paths tread by the precursors. We thought they were myths." As they delved into the data, a pattern emerged, one that hinted at a network of wormholes, possibly stable and navigable. "This changes every assumption about our place in the cosmos," Jaxon stated, the enormity of their find resonating in his voice. "We're looking at a map that could lead us to other galaxies." Milo, unable to contain his enthusiasm, spun around, taking in the holographic galaxy with an enraptured gaze. "We're not just mapping stars, we're charting the course for future generations." The chamber seemed to pulse in response, the light from the pedestal growing brighter, bathing them in a celestial glow. As they prepared to leave, Jaxon paused, his hand hovering over the sphere. "We need to secure this data. It's not just scientific discovery, it's a legacy." Their journey back to the ship was silent, each man lost in his thoughts, the soft glow of the corridor lights guiding their path. The scent of their own recycled air mixed with the ancient aromas of the station provided a stark reminder of the bridge they were crossing, from the known past to an unimaginable future. The mysteries of the universe were opening before them, beckoning with the promise of infinite exploration. Continuing their expedition through the mysterious station, Jaxon, Thane, and Milo approached what appeared to be a sealed vault-like door, its surface a complex web of engraved patterns that shimmered under the glow of their helmet lights. The closer they got, the cooler the air seemed to become, a subtle chill that seeped into their suits, tightening around their chests like a silent warning. "This doesn't look like any standard storage or archive room," Thane observed, his voice a low murmur that barely disturbed the profound silence enveloping them. Jaxon approached the door, noting the absence of a conventional lock or keypad. Instead, the door's mechanism was activated by touch, responding to the warmth of human skin. He pressed his palm against the cold metallic surface, and the intricate patterns began to pulse softly, a dance of light tracing the lines of ancient circuitry hidden within the walls. "Looks like it's biometrically sealed," Jaxon commented, stepping back as the door began to slide open with a soundless grace, revealing a room bathed in a dim, amber light. Inside, the chamber was lined with rows upon rows of what appeared to be data cores, each encased in transparent cylinders that filled the room with a soft, harmonic resonance, a quiet song of data streams flowing uninterrupted for centuries. The air was dry, filled with the faint aroma of old paper and electric charge, reminiscent of a long-forgotten library. As they moved between the rows, Milo reached out to touch one of the cylinders, his fingers brushing against the cool glass. These could contain knowledge lost to time, entire epochs of history and technology that predate our current civilizations. Thane, ever cautious, scanned the room with his device. The energy levels here are off the charts. Whatever information is stored here, they deemed it crucial enough to preserve through any disaster. Jaxon, intrigued by the potential of their find, proposed a deeper investigation. We should try to access the data. There's no telling what we might discover about the precursors and their technologies. Their attempts to interface with the data cores were initially met with resistance. The systems were locked behind layers of encryption that spoke of a civilization that had mastered security as much as they had technology. But as Jaxon and Thane worked together, synchronizing their efforts, the first core began to yield, its secrets slowly unfolding before them in streams of light and shadow. As data translated onto their screens, images of distant galaxies, mathematical formulas of incredible complexity, and diagrams of exotic technologies began to form. The information was overwhelming, each piece a puzzle that, when assembled, could potentially redefine humanity's understanding of the universe. Suddenly, the chamber vibrated lightly under their feet, a soft rumble that seemed to come from the very heart of the station. The cores flickered momentarily, then stabilized, but the subtle shift did not escape their notice. "Are we triggering these responses, or is something else at play here?" Milo asked, a note of concern threading through his words. "We need to be careful," Jaxon replied, his mind racing with possibilities. "This station isn't just a relic. It might be active, part of a network or system that we don't fully understand yet." As they prepared to extract copies of the data for further analysis, the mystery of the station deepened, leaving them pondering not just the hows, but the whys of its existence and its potential role in the cosmos. The answers lay hidden within the ancient data, each byte a whisper from the past, beckoning them deeper into the labyrinth of history and space. As Jaxon secured the extracted data onto their storage drives, the station trembled once more, the vibrations passing through the floor like a pulse awakening from a deep slumber. The air inside the chamber grew denser, charged with an energy that clung to their skin through their suits, a silent warning from the ancient structure itself. Thane tightened his grip on his scanner, his eyes narrowing as the readings shifted. "Something's changing. The power levels aren't just stabilizing, they're increasing." Milo turned his head sharply toward the corridor they had entered from, his breath quickening. "You think we activated something?" His voice carried a nervous edge, the realization that their presence might have triggered an unseen mechanism sinking in. Jaxon exhaled, steadying his thoughts as he assessed their situation. "We need to move. We've got what we came for, and I don't like the feeling in here." As they stepped away from the data cores, the chamber's soft amber glow darkened, the symbols lining the walls shifting in response to their departure. It felt as if the station itself was reacting, acknowledging their intrusion and preparing to either guide or contain them. The low resonance that had filled the air since they arrived now grew in frequency, a layered vibration that crawled beneath their boots like an unseen force rearranging itself. They retraced their steps through the corridors, the walls no longer stagnant but shifting ever so slightly, the metallic structures adapting as though the station was preparing for something. "This place isn't abandoned," Thane murmured as they passed through the central hall. "It's waiting." The moment he spoke, their helmets detected a disturbance, anomalous motion signatures further ahead. Milo adjusted his visor settings, enhancing the visuals. What he saw made his pulse spike. "Movement," he announced. "Not us." Jaxon motioned for silence, his hands signaling them to slow their steps. He peered down the length of the corridor. Beyond the faint glow of the station's illumination, something stirred. Shadows bled unnaturally along the walls, a shift in the dim light that couldn't be explained by their movements alone. Then the silence fractured. A sound, sharp and electric, sliced through the air. Not mechanical, not organic. It reverberated through their suits, a tone that bypassed the usual spectrum of known frequencies, as if it was bypassing their ears and speaking directly to their nervous systems. Thane clutched his head, gritting his teeth. It's not just noise, it's... His words cut off as a new pattern of symbols lit up along the walls, synchronized with the pulsing resonance. Jackson's mind raced. They had assumed this station was an artifact, a relic. But what if it wasn't just preserving knowledge? What if it was protecting something? His gut twisted as a realization settled. We might not be alone here. Milo swallowed hard, eyes locked on the shifting darkness ahead. Then who, or what, is still here with us? The station answered with another pulse, this one deeper, more deliberate, as if responding to their intrusion. The station pulsed again, a deep vibration rolling through the metallic floor, pressing against their boots like a heartbeat from something colossal beneath the surface. Jaxon steadied himself, fingers tightening into fists, as he scanned the corridor ahead. The shadows that had seemed still moments ago now writhed, twisting unnaturally along the walls as though responding to the station's awakening. Milo exhaled sharply, barely masking his unease. We need to move. Now. Jaxon took the lead, his steps swift but controlled. They retraced their path toward the docking bay, but the route felt altered. The corridors, once static and predictable, had subtly shifted. Walls stretched where they had been solid before, doorways narrowed, pathways curved into unfamiliar angles. The station was shifting around them. Thane's scanner flickered with chaotic data, the readout useless in the face of whatever force was at play. It's restructuring itself, either guiding us or keeping us in. A metallic groan echoed from the depths of the station, reverberating through the walls with a sensation that vibrated against their bones. Jaxon resisted the instinct to sprint. Running blind in a structure that could change shape would be suicide. Then the sound came again. Not just metal moving, something else. A deliberate noise distinct from the station's shifting framework. A click, measured and mechanical, followed by another. Footsteps. Milo's breath hitched. Tell me that's just more shifting metal. Jaxon shot him a glance but didn't respond. His gut told him the truth before he could reason through it. They weren't alone. The corridor ahead split in two, one path leading toward the docking bay, the other deeper into the station. They didn't have time to hesitate. Right, Jaxon ordered, making the decision in a heartbeat. They veered toward the docking route, but the moment their boots hit the threshold, the station responded. The walls contracted, closing the passage ahead with smooth finality. Damn it! Thane adjusted his stance, scanning for another exit. Jaxon pivoted, his gaze locking onto the second path. It remained open, glowing faintly, with an invitation that felt too deliberate. He didn't trust it. Behind them, the footsteps continued, closer now, methodical, unhurried. Whoever, or whatever was moving through the station wasn't rushing. It was hunting. Milo turned, his voice low, tight. We can't stand here. Jaxon made the call. We take the second path. No other choice. They pushed forward, deeper into the unknown. The air thickened, charged with something unseen yet tangible. The corridor widened into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. And there, at the center, stood something they hadn't expected. Not machinery, not data cores. A figure. It stood motionless, humanoid in form, its surface dark metal threaded with lines of blue energy that pulsed in a slow rhythm. Not a relic, not a ghost. A guardian, its head tilted slightly as though acknowledging their presence. Jaxon didn't breathe. Then the figure moved. Jaxon held his stance, resisting the instinct to step back as the figure advanced. The chamber's air carried a charged tension, like the moment before a lightning strike. His visor's display flickered erratically, struggling to process the energy signature radiating from the entity before them. It wasn't moving with hostility, at least, not yet. Its steps were measured, precise, as if studying them with the same scrutiny they were applying to it. Thane's fingers hovered over his sidearm. If that thing makes a wrong move... Hold! Jaxon cut him off, calculating their next steps. Firing prematurely could be catastrophic. The station was reacting to them. That meant it was still operating under a set of conditions, rules. Their survival hinged on understanding those rules before violating them. The Guardian halted at the center of the chamber, its head tilted slightly, as though assessing them with unseen eyes. Then a ripple passed through the glowing lines across its body, cascading outward into the walls. The chamber responded instantly. Screens flickered to life, symbols rearranging into recognizable patterns, forming something akin to an interface. Milo's voice was barely above a whisper. "It's waiting for input." Jackson's mind worked fast. If it hasn't attacked yet, it's either programmed for recognition or decision-making. We need to figure out what it's protecting. Thane exhaled sharply, keeping his posture tight. And if it decides we aren't supposed to be here, then we make sure we're not seen as a threat. Jaxon turned his attention to the interface, stepping cautiously toward the nearest panel. His hands hovered over the illuminated glyphs. He had seen them before, on the star map. He keyed in the first sequence they had deciphered earlier, watching for a reaction. The Guardian's energy lines pulsed brighter, its posture shifting. For a moment, Jaxon thought he had triggered something irreversible. Then the screens adjusted, displaying a navigational schematic. At its center, an unfamiliar celestial structure. Milo's breath caught. That's no station. That's a construct. Jaxon scanned the data. This wasn't just an outpost. It was a gate. His pulse quickened. The station wasn't merely cataloging knowledge. It was safeguarding an entry point, a passage to another system, one that hadn't been traversed in millennia. Thane studied the projection. If this thing is protecting the gate, that means someone, was trying to access it before. Jaxon weighed their next move. The Guardian hadn't reacted negatively to their interaction, which meant they had an opening. But now they had two priorities: securing the information and ensuring they had an escape route if things turned. He turned to Thane and Milo. "We split tasks. Thane, you extract as much of this navigational data as possible. Milo, search for any security logs. I'll monitor the Guardian." Milo frowned. "And if it decides we shouldn't be here after all?" Jaxon kept his voice steady. "Then we have to convince it we're not intruders. We're successors." The Guardian's glow intensified as though it had heard him. Its energy lines flickering in sync with the station's revived interface. Jaxon remained still, his muscles coiled with calculated restraint. Every action mattered now. They weren't just observers anymore. They were participants in something far older, far bigger than they had imagined. Thane's fingers moved deftly over the data panel, extracting layers of navigational records. His visor reflected strings of ancient coordinates, unfamiliar star charts shifting into readable formats. "I'm pulling location data. This isn't just a gate. It's a junction point. Multiple access routes lead here, and they don't all originate from our galaxy." Milo was hunched over another console, scrolling through fragmented logs. "Security records are partial, but something activated an alert centuries ago. External contact was detected, then it all went dark." Jackson's mind pieced the puzzle together. The station wasn't just a relic, it was a sentry post. Something or someone had tried to force entry long ago. The Guardian had been left behind, waiting for new arrivals. Now it was deciding whether they were allies or intruders. He kept his voice level. "Thane, prioritize translating the last recorded access logs. Milo, find out if the alert was triggered by an outbound or inbound force." The Guardian didn't move, but the chamber around them shifted. The walls pulsed with new patterns, revealing additional displays, routes extending beyond known space, each marked with warnings in an ancient dialect. Thane's tone tightened. Some of these paths show disruptions, collapsed wormholes, missing endpoints. Jaxon narrowed his eyes at the fractured routes. If the station had once connected multiple galaxies, something had severed those connections. Either natural cosmic shifts had destabilized the pathways, or something had deliberately cut them off. Milo suddenly tensed. "Got it. The last security log confirms an external incursion. Unidentified fleet. No organic life detected on board." Jaxon exhaled slowly. "Automated ships? Probes? Or something worse? The air carried a charge now, an undercurrent of energy that pressed against their suits. The station was reacting, as if waiting for them to draw their own conclusions. Thane's fingers hovered over the console. I can attempt to reinitialize an external scan, see if there's anything still out there. Jaxon weighed the risk. Activating a dormant system could send out a signal, alerting any lingering forces to their presence, but leaving blind was worse. Do it, he ordered. But keep it passive. We don't need to wake anything else up. Thane keyed in the command. The interface shimmered as the station complied, long dormant sensors flickering to life. For a moment, there was silence. Then a faint return signal appeared on the display. Milo's voice dropped. Something's still out there. Jackson's pulse steadied. They had their answer. The past wasn't just buried here. It was waiting. And now, it knew they were here too. The station's passive scan sent back a fractured signal, faint, yet undeniable. Something beyond this system still stirred, lurking in the cold abyss of deep space. Jackson's fingers hovered over his wrist display, analyzing the return data. It wasn't random interference. It was a presence, deliberate, waiting, watching. Milo exhaled, his voice low. Whatever's out there, it never left. Thane's expression darkened as he traced the data stream. The station's last recorded event. An unidentified fleet, non-organic, unresponsive to communication. If they failed to breach the gate before, they might still be trying. Jaxon clenched his jaw, calculating their next move. The station had reawakened because of them, its ancient systems recognizing their actions, perhaps even their humanity itself. They had stumbled into something vast, something sealed away for a reason. We triggered this, Jaxon admitted, his tone measured but firm. If they detect a change, they'll come back. And if they succeed this time, we might not be able to stop them. The Guardian remained motionless, an unblinking sentinel. But Jaxon felt its awareness, an almost imperceptible pull, as if the station itself was evaluating them. The symbols pulsing across its metallic frame quickened in rhythm, responding to their urgency. Milo stepped closer to the map display, his voice tense. We could shut it down again. Reset the systems. Bury the signal. Jaxon shook his head. That's what the last ones tried, and whatever's out there is patient. It'll just wait for the next explorers to make the same mistake. Thane's voice carried a weight that settled in the chamber like iron. Then we finish what they started. Jaxon turned to face them both, his pulse steady. You're suggesting we don't just run recon. We fight. Thane met his gaze. We adapt. We're human. We take impossible odds and turn them into victories. That's what we do. Milo swallowed, but determination settled in his expression. So we're not just explorers anymore. Jaxon looked back at the Guardian. Its energy lines pulsed one last time before stabilizing. A silent agreement. The station had recognized something in them, something different. Humans don't just discover, Jaxon said quietly. We endure. We outthink. We take the worst conditions and turn them into survival. That's why this station responded to us. And that's why we're going to win. The air inside the chamber carried a different weight now. Something deeper than knowledge. Purpose. They weren't just here to retrieve data. They were here to claim a battlefield, forgotten by time. Jaxon set his jaw, rolling his shoulders back as he keyed into the interface. We're not shutting this down. We're taking control. The station's lights surged in acknowledgement. The gate was theirs now. Whatever came for it next would find not an abandoned relic, but something far worse. Humans, ready, waiting, and undefeated. The station's lights surged as Jackson's command took hold, the ancient systems bending to a new force, one that hadn't been accounted for in millennia. The air crackled with unseen energy, a silent acknowledgement that humanity had seized the gate not as scavengers, but as its rightful successors. Thane's fingers moved across the interface, his expression sharp with concentration. We're in. Power levels are stabilizing. Whatever this station was waiting for, it's recognizing us. Milo watched as the Guardian's metallic form remained still, but its glowing veins pulsed in synchronization with the station. Then it's not just a sentry, he murmured. It's a test, and we passed. Jackson's gaze remained locked on the incoming signal, the ghost of an enemy long thought lost. They had waited in the dark, patient, calculating. But they had waited for something predictable, something bound by the same patterns as before. They hadn't expected humans. Jaxon exhaled, the weight of their decision pressing against his chest like the pull of a battlefield before the first shot. Thane, pull every tactical readout from this system. I want to know every strength, every weakness. Milo, reinforce the gate's defenses. We're not just sitting on this. We're holding it. Milo's fingers twitched, but his voice stayed steady. We're going to war with something we don't understand. That's nothing new, Jaxon replied. Every species out here has always looked at us the same way, like we're reckless, like we don't belong. His eyes darkened with certainty. And every time, we prove them wrong. The station's structure groaned as internal systems reawakened, weapon signatures lighting up across the interface. Automated defense patterns materialized, strategies designed by an ancient mind, but now in human hands. Thane whistled low. Whoever built this, they were preparing for something big, and they lost. Jackson's jaw tightened. We won't. The first external signal changed. What had been an idle presence now sharpened into directed movement. They had been detected. Milo straightened. It's coming. Jackson's grip on the console steadied. The challenge had been issued, and they weren't backing down. Then let's give them a reason to be afraid. The station shifted, as if awakening to its new purpose. Defenses realigned. Power flowed into long, dormant weapons. The gate, once a relic of a forgotten war, now pulsed with renewed strength. Thane locked in their battle configuration, his voice cool with certainty. You really think we can win? Jackson's expression didn't waver. I think they don't know what they just walked into. Beyond the station, the darkness of space stirred with unseen threats. The enemy that had once waited, certain of their eventual triumph, now faced something unpredictable, something that didn't just survive. It conquered. Jaxon straightened, eyes locked on the growing anomaly beyond the gate. They thought this would be easy. His voice cut through the charged air. They've never fought humans before, and with that the battle for the gate began.